Welcome to the Purpose to Create podcast with Natasha Wright, a business podcast for photographers and creativepreneurs who want to level up as they pursue their purpose to create. Lean in as we connect, inspire, and impact you as you build and grow your business.
I'm so hyped that you're here and listening to today's show. Today's guest is LaTasha Haynes. Tash is a professional photographer and blogger based out of Seattle, Washington. With over 10 years of experience in the entrepreneurship world as a small business owner, speaker, and coach, and she has a master's in public action from the University of Washington, Tash's platform exists to inspire the beginning entrepreneur, the working or stay-at-home mom, and every woman in between. In today's episode, we're chatting about all the things, or everything, because I need to get caught up with Tash, and I want to know everything. So, hey, Tash, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. So we're going to jump right in. I know I read a little bit about your bio, but tell us about Tash, because you've had some interesting things happen over the last year, and I want to hear about you discovering, some things, and I'm not going to spill the tea, but you've had an opportunity to go back to, I don't want to say home, but there's just so and it's just so many things. So I don't know where you want to start, whether it's with photography or with just life period, but as much as you want to share. It's a beautiful story. I've watched it unfold online. I would love for people to know more about Tash.
Yeah, so as you have mentioned, I'm a professional photographer and just kind of hopped back into the blogging world, and have kind of I don't want to say that I chose like to be an influencer or blogger. I feel like it more is like kind of choosing me, and it's been like kind of a natural transition or addition to our brand. But yes, a lot has happened over the last year, and I feel like to share that story, I kind of need to go back even a little bit further. So I am born and raised here in Seattle. I was raised in foster care. My mother is developmentally delayed, and so the day I was born, I was placed in foster care. And my mom was also given up when she was born. And so most of my life, I've only known my mom and never known any of my family history. So fast forward to marrying Ike, I found my mom's family. But because of her developmental delays, I never ever thought there would be ever an opportunity for me to know my father or even where he came from. In 2017, I got very sick with the flu virus. That changed everything about my life and how I saw life, because I was facing death. And when you come up on, much like this COVID-19 thing, right? Like when you come up on a situation or a crisis or troubled times, like it shifts the way that you think and the way that you operate in life. And so when an opportunity came after taking an ancestry DNA test, I was much more open and willing to explore the results that I got. And when I got a couple messages about possibly being related to family members, I was like open to learn, because I had just gone through this like life or death situation. You guys, I'm giving you like the very quick version of this story. It's much more long-winded, but we'd be here all day. So when I got this message from a woman from Ancestry that said that we might be cousins, I was much more open to kind of exploring it and seeing what she was talking about. So I get this message from this woman, and she's like, hey, I think we're related, or I know we're related because DNA doesn't lie. And she was just like, but it's so strange because my family and I were first generation Haitian, and our whole lives we've been told that we don't have family here. And I'm like, Haitian? Like what? There was no possible clue to me way that I had any kind of Caribbean roots. I would have never have thought Haiti ever. My ancestry results were really surprising. I had a lot of like European background and a lot of like Central American come up. And so to find out that I'm half Haitian, made all of that make sense. But it took a couple years for me to even be able to put my results together and to make it kind of come together. So I spent the last year getting to know my family. I have not found my father yet, but I got an opportunity in February to go to Haiti, like super unexpectedly. Like from the minute I was invited to the minute that I went was really only a week and a half time. And it was a life-changing experience. It was so beautiful and the country's so amazing. And so I've got this newfound passion and excitement and energy around my heritage. And it's been really fun to get to know about who I am.
You mentioned a life or death situation. And as much as you're willing to share, can you share with us how that changed your life?
Yeah, totally. So I had never been sick before. I was very, very healthy. I was an overachiever. Like as many of us as business owners are, like I was working really, really hard and wasn't taking good care of myself and didn't feel like I could give myself permission to stop. So when I got sick, I just kept going instead of taking the time to pause. And that sickness got much worse than it needed to. I had the flu virus, but because I didn't know that I had the flu and didn't take care of myself through that process, it turned into pneumonia. And that pneumonia and flu together combined turned into this crazy like virus that wreaked havoc on my body. And I went into heart failure. And when I came out of that, while I was in it, I was thinking about all of these things that I had done that I thought were important, that I had based my life around, but they weren't things that really meant something to me. So coming out of that, I really decided I really needed to reframe my life and make sure that the things that I was doing really resonated with me and like the things that made me happy. And so anything that I was doing that didn't line up with my values or my goals or what I felt the Lord is calling me to, I like got rid of. Even if it's like on trend with what everyone else says I should be doing, if it didn't line up with what was true to me and my soul and my spirit, I was like, this is not for me. And then all the things that I was just like putting off and hoping to do one day, we just started doing them. And so we started traveling more and going on these dream trips that really are not dreams. They just feel like dreams when you think they can't happen. And we just started living our life very intentionally and very purposely and very like courageously. And so that's kind of how we do it. And it's like whether we are blessed and traveling the world or whether we are on quarantine, like we found a way, or I have found a way to be content and to make the best of like every moment. Cause I know how sacred life is and what a privilege it is to be able to live it.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. I thought that was really important to share because a lot of times as creatives, we really don't slow down and take care of ourselves. And, you know, if we don't, it can turn into something worse. So it's really my plea to creatives to say, hey, if you notice that you are sick and not feeling well, take the time to slow down and take care of yourself. We are all constantly in a state of go. We're constantly in a state of go. We don't stop.
It's why so many people are having such a hard time with this, because you are now forced to come face to face with your own like life contentment. Are you content with who you are? Are you content with your life? Are you content with where you are? All we have now is time to think. And it's just really a great time to like go inward and to reflect and to really think about like how your life is set up and why so much of what you need is out there instead of in here. And I think if we can learn anything from this like shutdown or this quarantine is like, how do we reposition our life so that what the things that fill us up, we can be found right here with ourselves or in ourselves or the people around us who matter the most versus out there, you know?
Yeah. No, that's so real. That's so real. So most people know Tash as part of a husband-wife duo, Mike and Tash. And today I'm not talking about that. So sorry, guys. I am here to get to know about Tash because Tash is an amazing person and she is doing some amazing things. And I want to learn more about what you're doing as a blogger and, you know, dare I say an influencer, because there's not a lot of people in that space doing what you're doing. And it's so beautiful to see. Talk to us about how'd you get into blogging? And I feel like this is Tash 2.0 with blogging, right?
Thank you.
So I'm excited to see that and see what you have coming down, but you have history as a blogger. And so I want to jump into that.
Yeah, so I started blogging 10 years ago for our business, and that's really how we built our following around our business. It was something that, you know, a lot of people were blogging about photography, and I would blog about photography, but I would also blog about our life. And I think that's how people really started to get to know Ike and I and really came along for the journey with Wisdom when she was born and now Courage. And that was wonderful. I loved that. I loved sharing, but like everybody else, I believed the lie that blogging was dead. And so I stopped blogging. And I think what we have to remember is like social media or these different platforms that we use, they ebb and flow. So there's going to be times where like it's bursting at the seams and it's like the new thing, or it's the thing that people are excited about. And then it's going to die down so that something else can step into the forefront. But it's important to always be consistent and kind of keep the thing going, right? Because you want to have the longevity over time. Well, I got to this point where there were like so many things happening in my life, and I was learning so much and growing so much, and it didn't feel appropriate to share those things on our business blog. And I felt like I needed a space where I could share. And it started with Instagram. I was really disenchanted and frustrated with Instagram, and I hate the word influencer because I feel like it's misused in like the worst way. And I never wanted to be an influencer because I want to like actually have real influence. I don't want to be like, no disrespect to anybody in their hustle and what makes them happy, but I want to make true impact on people and motivate and encourage people around like real issues. But most importantly, I want to encourage people to like live like their most authentic life, and not the buzzword kind that you see in everybody's title. So I actually left social media for 1.5 years, and I allowed the Lord to kind of work with me on what my voice needed to be and what how he could use me in that space. And when I came back, I was very clear about what I wanted to talk about. And really what I share about is motherhood and faith and travel. And for me, it's my stories of wisdom and courage.
I love that. I love
that. Wisdom and courage, and like what it means, like the courage and the wisdom that it takes to live like a full, authentic life. But then also stories of wisdom and courage, and like what I'm learning by raising these two girls together, who bear the name Wisdom and Courage. And so as a mom who did not have a mom, it really has been a journey for me to learn how to mother. And as an only child who got my sister late in life, learning how to parent sisters from birth, on up is also something that is different for me because I didn't grow up having that experience. And so as I learn and as I grow, I've just found this place where I can share. And my Instagram posts were becoming like little mini blogs. And so it's time for me to kind of have this place where I could unpack some thoughts. And so I just have this blog called Wisdom and Courage, and it's really just stories about living your wisest and most courageous life. And what I've discovered as I've been writing is that wisdom and courage really are a pair. They go hand in hand. You need wisdom to kind of like forge ahead, but you need the courage to be able to step out. And as I watch my girls, like they need each other. Wisdom is so wise, but she's not always quick to take the first step. Whereas courage will move, and we've got to kind of pull her back in and get her to think. And so watching them just in person also has taught me so much about what it means to be wise and courageous as I watch those like values like live out in my girls. So it's been really fun to write and to share and to have that place to fall. And I'm really excited about maybe a book.
I was just thinking that. I was like, I want to ask her, may get a book out of you? And then I said, no, I'm not going to ask. But I was just thinking the same thing. That would be an amazing.
My most asked question for the last 2 years. And I think, honestly, I'm scared. And I think that I was just texting my friend Charlena from Grit and Virtue. And we were just talking about this podcast that we had watched. And I had gotten so much from it, Mr. Les Brown. And I realized I'm not confident in the call that I feel that the Lord has on my life, because I'm like, well, what do I have to offer, right? Even though I'm sharing and writing all the time, I still feel like I'm not good enough. And so that's like something that I'm having to like walk through like in the process. But yes, a book is something that I know I need to write. I just don't always know what that looks like or how to get there. And so that's like my journey right now, is trying to get to that point.
No, it's super exciting. I can't wait to see that unfold. And I feel like it's going to be, an extension of your blog, right? Really. And it can go either way, right? You can talk about motherhood. You can talk about being a creative mama. It can be a series. We're here for that. We want all of that. So we are here for it. We're waiting for it. And you have people rallying behind you and cheering you on, and really excited for when that comes out. So
thank you.
Yes, so excited. So what else have you been working on? Anything fun and exciting?
I just have been in this season, especially really just trying to perfect the things that are already in my hands. I don't feel like I'm in this season of life to pick up more. I feel like I'm actually in the season of life to cut the fat. So that's what I've been working on, and really just perfecting what's already in my hands. So I can Tosh as a business and making sure that that is as powerful and strong and supporting the people that we serve in the best way possible. Wisdom and courage and that whole brand and all the ideas that I have around that and where I want to take that, and really just being a good friend to like my people and supporting and encouraging them and waiting for the Lord to tell me what he wants me to do. But I do think that after we come out of this season of quarantine, that there's going to be this like surge of energy and creativity. And I really want to be ready for that. So I'm making sure that I'm in position.
Yeah, no, what are some ways that you are getting in position for what's to come?
So I've been going through, there's kind of like a two-prong approach because I've got two brands, right, that I'm working on. But as it's related to just my own personal brand, making sure my press kit is updated and all my stats are there, making sure I'm clear on what my messaging is and my stories, and making sure that I have a really tight, brand identity, and that is being reflected, that when people come to my page, they know exactly what they're going to get. And you can see that in every way that I move in every realm. As related to Ike and Tosh, just making sure that, all of our pricing is correct and that our galleries are cohesive. And what I've been doing is going through our archives because there's never time to do that, and just pulling up old pictures that might work, thinking about stories, thinking about different ways to do things. We used to do in-person sales, but in this season of life, that's not something that we can do. And so, okay, what do we do now that we can offer that's unique? Bloggers need pictures, so maybe that's something we can add to our lineup of things. So just like brainstorming ideas and figuring out how to pivot our business in a way that serves both our clients, but also our family and our goals for our family. So.
No, I love that. And it's really exciting to kind of hear the behind the scenes process of how you're using this time to prepare, right? Like you said, you're cutting the fat. Mm-hmm. So for you, it's being still and working with what you already have in your hand. And sometimes in the seasons like we're in now, we feel like we have to hurry up and go and do more things and pick up things. But it's also a season to kind of sit and reflect and see how to strengthen your own business. So I like that you are doing that.
I also, I went through, how many workshops and like PDFs have you bought and never looked at?
Listen.
So, I'm just saying, somebody feels attacked right now. I do too. So don't worry about it. I have pulled all of those things, put them in one folder, and every day I take an hour and I either read through them or listen through them. And even if I know that like what is in there is not, I'm past it or whatever the case may be, I just take the time to like go through it one more time and see if there's anything new that I understand differently, or there's anything that I can apply in a different way, because I'm in a different season now, so I might be seeing it differently. And I've just been going through those things too, like the same way I would sit and listen to a sermon or a podcast. I'm like, let me just listen to this thing that I paid all this money for that I've never had time to actually do. So
listen, I'm putting up my emoji raise praise hands because I felt that on a deep level. There are so many courses, PDFs, all these things that I've invested in and haven't even looked at them. Now it's the perfect time to bring it back up and say, okay, what can I take from this? What season was I in when I brought this, and what ways can I refine whatever it is?
Yeah. Especially as an educator too, it's like, how do you add now what you've learned over this time to the conversation as well? So maybe it's not something that you need anymore, but maybe you have your own unique answer to the problem or solution that you can now put out into the world, and it becomes new content. And so I just have been doing that, and I've just been trying to like humble myself and not allow my 10 or 11 years of business experience to get in the way of my ability to learn and to pick up something new. It's been a long time since I've picked up something new or try to learn a new skill. And I think it's important to like remain the student no matter how far you get. So
what I want to ask you is about community building.
Yes.
Because you are an amazing community builder, and you do it for your own community in Seattle. You really have a heart for young women. I want to talk a little bit more about that and your passion behind that. So I want to learn more about just your philanthropy and how you take your talents and you use it to serve others.
Yeah, man. So for the last 10 years, I had my street team program that served high school juniors that were about to be seniors. And we just created this really amazing kind of like, well, it started as like a 1-year experience, but what ends up happening is these girls end up staying around and they become mentors for the younger girls. And then in 2017, we launched this community service program called And Her South Sound for girls who were in the community, that were in high school, that wanted to be a part of something, but maybe weren't on my senior model team. Because what we were finding is that a lot of the girls were signing up to be a senior model, but they weren't signing up because they wanted to model. They were signing up because they wanted to be a part of the different things that we were doing. And so we found that there was like a real need for girls in the community to just be able to connect with one another and to have a safe place. So we created that for girls. And we were the adult mentors in their life, but we allowed the girls to lead and to kind of organize different events, different community service projects. And we were just like the adult that was teaching them how to do those things, how to organize, how to create an event, how to show up, how to be responsible, how to keep your word, all of those different things. I have a heart for mentorship in general, specifically when it comes to women, whether it's like women entrepreneurs or whether it's high school students. And I think that just comes from like a lack of my own relationships with like women growing up. A lot of my close relationships with women came in my high school years. They were teachers or they were, academic advisors. And those few women who are still a part of my life, they just stand out as being like pivotal to my success. And so I just felt like if I were going to be in my hometown and as a woman who aged out of the foster care system, like there's an opportunity for me. Maybe I can't do everything and maybe I don't have like the means financially, but there is a way to use my business to support and to care for young people. And before I was a photographer, I was in youth development. So that is my audience that I just really love. So we just went with it and we just did what we could do with what we had. And that thing just grew. In this new season of life, I have decided that was one of the things that I had to put down. My girls are 1 and 7, and I didn't want to be the kind of mom who was so busy helping other people's kids that I couldn't see my own. So in this new season of life, I've laid those things down for right now, but it was such a wonderful, amazing, life-giving time. And even today, before we did this podcast, I had 2 girls come and visit me, but they social distance. So one was like 10 feet away and one was 6 feet away, and they just stopped by to say hello because they're just a part of our community. And we normally have an open door policy, but we can't today. So we have an open front yard policy.
Oh, I love that. No, that's so amazing. Watching the street team over the years, and I'm not a senior photographer, but I just learned so much about senior photography watching you all. And it was just so great because the way that you all served young people was so amazing. I had not seen that in other senior photographers.
We were, and I stand on this, we were the first and did it the best.
Yes.
I am now old. It's 10 years later. When we started, I was 27. I'm 37 now. I have 2 kids. So I don't have the same bandwidth or energy to kind of keep doing that. We would do Sunday dinners and open up our home. We'd have like 80 girls in our living room eating Sunday dinner together. We would go on these road trips and all of that is really wonderful. But these girls are now older. I have some girls that are almost 28 years old, almost 30 years old. They're now getting married and having babies. And what I really felt was that in this next season of my life, I want to watch these girls transition into their next season of life. And I want to be a part of that story. And so instead of taking on more girls, similar to my business, right, stewarding what the Lord has already given me, instead of taking on more girls and trying to like cultivate relationships with this new generation, I feel like it's now my time to step into a mentorship friendship role with these girls who are now, getting married, who are having their first kids and being that person to them, and not just their high school senior photographer. And so now I'm like cultivating these relationships with these new moms We just did this surprise engagement for one of my seniors who just booked us for her wedding, and, is like, I'm going to have you do my family pictures. And, and that is what we wanted when we built this business. We wanted to be a legacy business that as we grew our family, we would also be a part of watching other people and their family change and things like that. So it's been really fun. It's really hard and sad to be like, that's over, but I'm really excited about like kind of the next phase of our business.
Right. And it doesn't even really seem like it's over. It seems like it's really just beginning.
Oh, well, I received that in Jesus' name. I'll take it.
Okay. It's the next chapter.
This is the elephant in the room, right?
See, I didn't say it.
Okay. So here's the deal with Blink. I feel much like I feel about every other thing in my life.
Yeah.
If I am to bring Blink back, it cannot be what it was.
Oh, yeah.
The evolution of something new, right? It has to grow the way that I've grown, the way that the people that it served has grown. When we started Blink, it was very intentional, purposeful to kind of bridge the gap. There was a huge equity problem in the photography industry. There was a need there. And, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, those spaces didn't exist. Now We're in 2020, the spaces are there, the need was met, other people have risen up, they're doing really cool things. And for me, the problem is solved. Maybe it's not like perfectly solved, but the reason why we started it, we did that, we fulfilled that purpose. And so I would rather support and add my talent to something that someone else is carrying forward than to try to come in and do the same thing. Now, if I am given a new vision around Blink and how it's serving a purpose or a need that's not being met, for me, that's worth what it's going to take to bring it back and to bring it out of retirement. So it's not off the table. In fact, I was going to do it this year, and there was something inside of me that was just like, this is not the time. I look at where we are. I just am so thankful that I trust that instinct, because this could be a very different conversation right now.
Oh, yeah, very different. And let's talk a little bit about time and season. And I think a lot of people as creatives, we miss that. Sometimes we try to move when it's not time for us to move. That's what I love about you, your discernment and your wisdom, not being influenced by what other people think you should do.
Oh, man, it's so hard.
It's hard, right? Like we feel like, well, I got to do it because everybody's asking me, but it's not the time to carry that mantle. It's not time to do that. And, we ask you this every time we see you.
No, 100% you do.
we ask it all the time, right? But we know that it's not time. We know it's not time. But it's always that glimmer of hope, like, all right, let's do a reunion. Let's do something. Like it's the community. I don't think I'm going to say this. I don't think it has nothing to do with the speakers or the education. None of that. We want Blink back because of the community that it provided, I feel, right? Because every time we talk is, oh man, Blinkies, we had such an amazing time. It's the community. I think that was the foundation of, Blink, and why we all rallied together, why we miss it so much. Like you said, people have already filled that gap. You already solved the problem. But it's the community, that's what's missed.
I think, okay, so let's go back to timing. I think the right thing at the wrong time is chaotic, right? That's the first thing. Yep. I think I do agree with you that it's the community around Blink. I think what makes Blink different and unique is that it really truly was a diverse community. It wasn't one type of person. It wasn't. So when I say the problem has been filled, I don't think there's another community like Blink, but I think that the need that certain people had is being provided in other ways, right? But I think that true diverse community, Blink is one of the only places in this industry where that's happened. And you did feel like you belonged, and you felt like you were getting like a really great mix of opinions and ideas and things like that. It is so hard because I do feel like we would have the support. I do feel like we would sell it out. I feel like it would be a really amazing time. But again, I have to have peace about any decision that I make. And if I don't have peace, even if there's just a little bit of like, and for this year, everything lined up. I mean, we had Brittany had everything. I mean, everything was in position. It was really just me, but I just was like, I don't know. I just didn't have peace. And I think it's really important as, entrepreneurs, creatives, to trust that inner voice, because that thing is in you for a reason. And I watched other friends who have events and conferences, and I've watched how they've had to kind of figure out what they're going to do in this season. I would not have been able to do that right now. Not with a new baby, to have to think about oh my gosh, this conference and what are we going to do? And I just feel so thankful that I did listen. So I hear you. I pray about it all the time.
Listen, I'm a firm believer of if God has not given you peace about it, then don't do it. Right. We can keep asking to, but if there's no peace, don't do it.
No, 100%. But it's not off the table.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
We'll see what happens. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm excited just to know it's not off. But I know the answer to this already, right? I know that it's not off the table. We've had these conversations, right? I say this for all the people listening who knows that I'm talking to Tash, and they want to ask the question. So I'm asking the question, not for a friend, but for me, for my friends. No, thank you. Thank you for addressing that and talking about it. And we probably could not have had that conversation if I didn't ask that question. I appreciate that, clarifying that. So you guys, it's not off the table. Just understand that time and season has everything to do with it. And if in your own businesses too, if there's no peace, don't go where God's grace is not. And that's it. That's all I gotta say about that. Don't go where God's grace is not. If you are feeling uneasy, don't have peace about a thing, about a project that you're working on, that that you really want to work on, don't go ahead of God.
That's real. And there's so much around that, because you want to be able to, when I've done Blink in the past, there have been these situations where I've looked at it and I've been like, I don't know how this is going to work, but I knew that I had heard the Lord in it. And so I knew he was responsible for the outcome. I didn't need to know how it was supposed to work. But when we move in our own, flesh, it makes it so hard to hold God accountable to getting us out of whatever mess we've created. And I don't like the way that feels. So I'm just like, you know what, until I know, or until it feels like, okay, this is go time. I'm just going to sit here and just field all the questions, because that's just all I can do.
Right. At some point, we'll stop asking the questions, because we're just waiting and praying and believing with you. So at some point, the questions will end. I cannot leave this conversation without talking about faith. How big of a role does faith play in your business? Being a creative entrepreneur, creative mama, really maintaining your identity as a wife, as a mom, as a creative, and as a woman of God. How do you manage all of those roles?
Yeah. So faith, there is no me without it. That's number one. And that has always been a struggle for me, because I feel like, in business, they're always like, you should leave your personal opinions, your personal things off the table. And so I really struggled with how I was going to juggle that in the past. And I remember just having this moment really early on in my career where I was just like, the Lord gave it to me, so I'm not going to leave him out of it. And I feel like the more I talk about my faith, always respectfully and always honoring that, I understand that other people have different views, but there is no story. My story doesn't exist outside of this story of faith. And so I just always have to make sure that people understand that. I will always speak respectfully, but I cannot edit my faith out of my story. There's not a way around that. And I remember that I spoke at a conference last year, and they were like, this is a conference where we don't touch on these things. And so they basically were like, don't talk about God from the stage. And I was just like, yeah, that's not going to work for me, because I can't tell my story without talking about my faith and the Lord. And so it is everything. It is the only thing in my life that I can count on. It is the only thing that is unchanging. And I hold so close to my faith. How do I balance everything, or how do I make everything work? I don't think I do. I think I do some things really great some days, and I think I do some other things really great other days. I do ask the Lord to multiply my time often. That is a prayer of mine. I'm always just like, multiply my time, make it more than what it really is. And I extend a lot of grace because I need a lot of grace. And that's what I do. Like, it's not that I'm great at any of these things. I think there's just a lot of grace that covers the things that I'm supposed to do. And I think that I show up and keep trying to be the best that I can be. And I think that the Lord honors that. And I think people around me honor that too. So yeah, that's how I do it all. I don't do it all. I really drop a lot of balls. I mean, look, I showed up to this thing. I didn't know we were being recorded. It took us like 20 minutes to get started because I had all this stuff going on in the background, right? But it's like, you know me, you know my heart. And so there was grace for me and there was understanding, right? And that allows us to show up and to be who we are, because we know on the other side, we're going to be received and accepted, and we're going to be loved in spite of our imperfection. And that's like what life is all about.
Speechless. I don't know what to say after that. This is something that came up on my heart as you were speaking, and I wasn't meaning to say this or anything, but I feel like somebody needs to hear it, so I'm just going to say what the Lord put on my heart. What would you say to a creative who is a mom and who was struggling with choosing between being a creative and being a mom and serving her household? Do you have to choose to, like, if I'm a creative and while I'm about to be a mom, I don't want to stop what I'm doing because I'm just getting my groove, but I got to really focus on my family. I don't know who this is for, but I feel like it's for somebody. I want to address it coming from a creative who's a mom, who is making it happen and knowing that it is possible.
Oh gosh, that was an eternal struggle for me, especially with wisdom. I have a lot of regret about the first couple of years of her life and how I handled it, because I felt like I had to make a choice. And I think that that's the misconception for women creatives or women in business, is that you feel like you have to choose between your children and your career. And I think that is like the worst narrative ever. I think it boxes us in, and I think it makes us feel like we have to perform really great in one area to be successful, which is why there's a choice, but that's not the reality of the situation. What you have to understand is that if you're going to have both, it's going to require a different kind of like work ethic and a different level of tired, right? But there's not a choice there. With courage, with wisdom, I look back and I feel like I missed a lot of the things because I felt like I had to choose, and I hadn't figured out how to integrate her into our lives in a way that I could make it make sense. But with courage, I'm like, she's only little this one time, right? And I have a second chance to do it again. And so what I do now is I put my kids first. They come first because I'm going to do the creative thing. I'm going to wake up early. I'm going to stay up late. I'm going to sneak out. I'm going to reprioritize my time. I'm going to make sure that I get what I need in terms of my creativity, but they don't get a chance to, kind of make those decisions for me. So it's up to me to make the decision. And so it's like my kids come first, or they're coming along for the ride, and I'm doing a photo shoot and she's on my back with me, and I'm making the choice to choose both of them at the same time. And I think that the conversation has been that it's unprofessional if your children are around, or, it doesn't make you look like you're a boss mom or whatever the case may be. But I think that people resonate with the reality of a situation. And I also think that it frees them to go, I can do that. If this is like the standard, if it's okay and acceptable for her to bring her daughter to the photo shoot, or for her to wear her daughter on her back. I remember once I went on stage at a conference and I carried courage on my hip. Like, I am a working mom, and this is what a working mom looks like. And sometimes I'm carrying goldfish crackers or a diaper bag. It doesn't mean that I can't do my job. It just means that it comes with a little bit more. And so, for the mom who's out there that feels like they need to choose, I felt that way too. That's why my kids are so far apart. That's why it took me so long to have kids in the first place. But I think that the one thing in my life that I wouldn't change is being a mom. And it hasn't made me any less ambitious, any less successful, any less creative. In fact, it has multiplied it. And it's given me the energy and the tenacity and the courage and the wisdom to fight even more for my dream. So that's what I got.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is everything. I appreciate you so much.
I'm so honored. Truly. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Let us know how we can stay connected to you after the show, like your blog, everything.
Yeah, so you can find me anywhere online by putting in It's Tash Haynes, so ITSTASHHAYNES, or if you put in Wisdom and Courage, wisdomencourage.com, that's my website. So either one of those. And then if you want to follow our photography, just head on over to Tash anywhere on the internet. And if you find one of them, you'll find the rest of them. So you only have to remember one.
Thanks so much. I look forward to just keep connecting with you, and I can't wait to talk to you soon.
And I am so proud of you. Thank you for having me on your top-rated podcast. I'm so honored.
Thank you so much. Every time I hear that, it's just so crazy to me.
It's real, baby.
Thank you for listening to the Purpose to Create podcast. Share, like, comment, or review this episode. Check out the show notes at www.purposetocreatepodcast.com and connect with us online at Purpose to Create.